It's 54 days since public universities have been shut. Lecturers are on a definite strike over the refusal of the federal government to honor an agreement between both parties.
Well, this time, the National Association of Nigerian Students has lent its voice, giving ASUU and the federal government a 2-week ultimatum to resolve their impasse or face confrontation. Well, TVC Breakfast caught up with some people to find out the implication of the strike. Listen to them.
The federal government should consider, if not because of the lecturers, but because of the students.
I think the earlier the federal government listen to them and let the children go back to their school.
If they are talking about those people affected most about this strike, I think we are the most affected. Because whatever we have left undone now, we will do it when we resume. That means we'll have to carry excess load.
The strike is affecting everybody, students, parents, lecturers. Lecturers want to actually come to school and work. So I think the government should resolve this so that everybody will come back to work.
The federal government, their unwillingness to pay some of these demands or give in to some of the demands the ASUU, the union itself are requesting for, and the union itself are also bent on getting them before they go back to work. But who suffers it? The students, Nigerian students suffer it.
Education industry needs to be overhauled. You understand? How long are we going to continue with this back and forth system? ASUU on strike, tomorrow they call us strike, and you look at it that they still come back to the same demand. The same demand, the same point, then that means we are not moving forward.
Their demands ought to be met if the federal government has the paramount interest of the students at heart. They should be able to meet the demand of ASUU.
They have to come to a consensus or a common ground with each other. So at the end of the day, this thing won't keep repeating itself.
You heard it from Nigerians there. At the end of the day, you know, like when they say when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers.
The grasses will tell the story.
Dr. Danakere, is there a danger that ASUU will begin to lose sympathy if it continues the strike and it continues with this
I don't think so.
You know, stubborn stance?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And in any case, should ASUU even lose sympathy? You know, it is Nigeria public that will suffer. It's not all about ASUU, except Nigeria public is saying they don't understand the issues at stake. ASUU is not talking about salary increment. We must understand that very clearly.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of demands there that has nothing to do with money. And if anything, we are even the ones paying money. For instance, one of the demands is about ASUU running its own pension, you know, company or administrator that will be taking, system that will take care of their pension. Considering the fact that the likes of, what's the name, Maina, you know, could take billions and nothing will happen, and at the end of the day, pensioners are the ones who suffer. ASUU is saying that we want to run our own system. And they are not the first. Who are the pension managers of the Nigerian Army and the rest of them? You know, so if that is possible, why is ASUU so difficult? And they've placed all manner of targets. ASUU has met practically all of them. They've shifted the goalposts over and over, pay this amount, 300 million, 300 this, 500 this. At the end of the day, ASUU keep paying. Now, release the certificate. You are not doing that. You said you overpaid ASUU with respect to earn allowances. You want to carry out, what do you call it, forensic audit. Now you've concluded the audit. Release the report so that you can, if it happened that ASUU is the one that is owing the federal government, you make deductions. But if the federal government is still owing, then pay everything. Because your payment was dependent on that. You said that until that is done, you would, but as soon as that is done, you will pay. Should there be any difference? You pay the differential. All of that is happening. But again, more importantly, ASUU is equally talking about revitalizing the education system, particularly our universities, that you need to fund them properly. Such that
and the federal government has paid 10% of that. They're asking, ASUU asked for 200 billion.
Yes.
FG paid 20 billion.
That is for a few, no, 20 billion, look at it, that's a far cry from it. Then, in fact, this 200 billion is per annum, and it was run for a few years.
For about
5 years or thereabout. Now, only once 200 billion was released by the Jonathan administration. And between then and now, nothing of that has happened. We're not talking about the earn allowances now, even the running of the system, that is funding education properly. If we have the kind of system that is as vibrant as the one we send our children to abroad, I'm not sure anybody will willingly want to waste such money. But we have deliberately decided to run the system down so that we can, you know, send our children abroad to outshine the ones here. So what are you doing? You are only killing, you know, your industries and the rest, because these are the institutions that will eventually produce the manpower that you need. I don't think if we wait on Oxford and Cambridge and the rest, Nigeria can survive, because the manpower you need, not many people can afford to send their works abroad. All right, so you need this, and not only that, what would be wrong with paying me what my wages? A laborer deserves his wages. Yeah. Okay. What is wrong with paying me what is due to me?
We will talk about this, because the point there is so many Nigerians send their children abroad to some of these schools abroad, you know, in the West.
Even in the neighboring countries.
Many of the schools are not cheap at all. They're so expensive. We will talk about the dynamics of how cheap education should be and all of that.
Dr. Danekere, when ASUU says federal government is not sincere, and as a matter of fact, they're not willing to have any more meetings with the federal government, what then? How do we, you know, get past this so that tertiary education does not suffer in this country?
Yeah, what it means is that the federal government needs to show more sincerity. Because we had this in the past where, you know, ministers and the rest were just, you know, dilly-dallying, toiling and the rest of it, just holding meetings as if just to buy time. And it got to a point that the then president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, stepped in. And at the time ASUU tabled the issues, the man was even shocked. He was wondering why such things should be kept for that long. And at the point, the man says, how come these bills are accumulated? Some of these things are things that should have been done, you know, on a regular basis. But that has not been the issue. And I want to believe that the federal government for now perhaps has not considered it, you know, necessary to actually, you know, meet with ASUU to ensure that these things are resolved. It's not a question of there's no money.
They've been having meetings. Even the federal government has said we don't have money to meet ASUU's demands.
That has always been the claim. But they could, you know, make budgetary allocation for other things. Education is not as important. That is what it means. Because when it was time for INEC to get money for election 2019, the federal government was able to raise money. Yeah, when it was time for banks that were dying, private businesses, to be bailed out, the federal government was able to do that. But now that it has to do with everybody, the common man, there's no money. So what is the purpose of government? If not for the interest of the people, what is the purpose? Is it just to run elections?
All right. For African students who are in either Oxford or Harvard or Yale or Columbia and all of those Western high-rating or high-rated universities put together, for African students who are there, who go from Africa to there, to the record statistics have shown that Nigerian students make about 65% of all African students put together.
Yes.
And we know that schooling in those highbrow schools are not cheap at all.
Certainly, they're not cheap. You know, but you can always expect that, because to start with, we seem to be on the higher side in terms of population. So if out of all the countries, people are going there, where one is coming from other places, you might find two or three from Nigeria. So it should be expected.
Yeah, but then again, these students from the Nigerian kids, they're not children of the poor.
Exactly what I wanted to. In fact, that's what I was coming to. Yeah. You know, perhaps, you know, those who are able to do this, we know the class of persons who can do this. All right, because these are not things of 2,000 naira and the rest of it. So you must be very comfortable to be able to do that. And you find some persons, they have more than one, you know, in some of these hybrid institutions. Yeah. Okay, but you should ask yourself, did these institutions fall from heaven? They are made by men. Are we not humans? Can't we do the same? We can't actually do the same.
We've even had them before.
We've had this in the past.
Yeah.
Nigerian universities coming from all over the world.
Exactly.
I remember those days that even Ekpoma here, when there was so much noise about Ekpoma making wave in law and the rest, foreigners were all over. They were there. In all the schools, you find that UNILAG, UI, they were all over. Yes. So what now happened? How come this new state of decay?
What do you think has happened? Because in the midst of all of this, we're still, the federal government is still issuing licenses, you know, for more universities and still, you know, opening more
exactly.
universities.
Even governments are still establishing
more.
Not just issuing licenses to others.
So, yeah.
Governments are still establishing licenses. States are universities. States are establishing universities where the ones they already have are not even well funded. So it seems as if they see the idea of a university as just having a mass expanse of land, you know, then fence it, then name it university. And the moment you give it a name, it begins to work. Perhaps that is a perception they have of university. How it goes beyond that.
Yeah, Dr. Kerry, how do you think this is going to impact on, if it goes on this way, how do you think it's going to impact the way people perceive the government and vote in the coming 2019 election?
Well, I can't even tell what the government is really up to. Whether they want to actually keep children out of school till elections are over, I don't understand. Otherwise, I expected that this issue would have been nipped in bud long before now. All right? But I have a strong feeling that should the government fail to address this issue, those who are affected might feel, you know, disenchanted. They might
but those who should be affected, or those who are affected, are they discerning enough to understand that, look, any government that does not take education, you know, the way it should, seriously enough, does not deserve our vote?
I want to think so. I want to think so. A lot of them have that thinking. But don't forget that, you know, it goes
Is that
beyond
a major thing that's going to actually direct, you know, how people vote?
Even if it's going to affect, how many are they? You know, what is the total population of Nigerian students? What's the total population of academics? So it's a function of the number now. But I want to believe strongly that everyone who is in the system, in the education system, will understand that any government that failed to give attention to education does not mean well for this country. So it will only take, because that is the foundation of every form of development you can think about. All the ones you bring from here and there in the name of power sector, whatever, they are trained somewhere.
Yeah, but the point there is NLC has voiced it out to say any government, be it state or even federal government, that does not, you know, support or ensure that the 30,000 naira minimum wage is passed should be voted out. They have been very categorical about that. ASUU, if ASUU makes a categorical statement in that regard, don't you think it's going to be a little more
well, I don't think
impactful?
ASUU's business is about canvassing votes or not. ASUU is interested in what is interested in, and the focus has not shifted. ASUU is quite committed to that focus.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dan Ekere, for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's been a delight having you on the show this morning.